Hey everyone, welcome to IndicatorLab. This is Kika. In today's video, we're going to show you how to use our main product, A Matcher. A Matcher is a very powerful but also convenient tool to give a price projection based on historical patterns. So in a nutshell, we are identifying historical patterns that are similar to the current price movement and then utilize the historical pattern to give us a reliable projection. All right. So once you enter our website, log in using your credentials. If you don't already have an account, click register here and you will be able to register an account. Sometimes we might be asking you for a referral code. In that case, please join our Discord channel or follow our Twitter for more detailed information. Alright, so once you have an account, log in and this will be the screen you are looking at. The right hand side is the detailed panel. But before introducing that, let's take a look at this left three panels here. So we have a projection button, ranking and tutorial, right? So projection is where all the magics happen. We'll cover these in details in 1 second, but let me first introduce what these are. Ranking, this is probably a better first stop. So here we have all the cryptos and the stocks sorted by their trend and also consistency. All right. But before we start, let's also take a look at this tutorial panel here. I strongly recommend everybody to take a quick look of these images and text here because it is very detailed instruction on how to use this product. And we also have a video tutorial here and it comes in 2 different languages, English and Chinese. All right, so let's go to ranking. First, of course, select your asset type. If you trade crypto, select crypto, otherwise go to stock. So 2 main sorting mechanisms here. First one is ranking by the trend. So you can go either with long to short or short to long or by names, of course. If you go with long to short, then the system will give you the name that may have a highest return based on this first panel here. So that's trend. If this gray arrow is to the right of this bar, means there is a chance it will go up. Similarly, if you go with short to long, then the first one will be the one that may give a largest downtrend motion. Okay, but that's not everything, because we not only want to know the trend, the direction, we also want to have a control of the consistency. So here, this consistency filter, if you don't do anything by default, it's on all. It'll just show you everything. I don't recommend that personally. I typically will go to either high only or above medium. Basically, this is saying among all the historical patterns, we want to make sure they are consistent. So I recommend you go with either above medium or high only. If you go with high only, then it's more stringent criteria. You may end up nothing. Be prepared. But if you go with above medium, you will have a handful of choices. So let's just take one of example, maybe Dogecoin here, Doge USDT. Right now it's the third, so 1, 2, 3 in the trend ranking and also sorted by this medium consistency. All right, so if we click this one, it will automatically navigate us to the projection panel. This is where all the magics happen. In this panel, we have 3 sub-panels: projection of asset, individual matches on the right, and then the matches in history at the bottom. Let's start from this left top panel, the projection of asset. So first, make sure you have the correct symbol name. Now we're interested in Dogecoin, so this is correct. Let's just uncheck all these checks here, and we only show the current pattern. So right now, this gray line, it represents the stock price in the last 1, 2, 3, 4 days. That's decided by its historical length here. This gray line is the target for historical matching. Our algorithm will search the entire history of this coin or this stock, and it will identify particular historical occurrences that has a similar pattern as this one. That's how we identify historical similarities. So here, what you see in this individual matches is basically all the individual matches that happen in the history. So you can see here, you have all the dates. This first one is 2022, but there are some episodes in the 2020, but they all give you this kind of move here, right? So if we compare the left and right, the current pattern is something like this. It first dips and then maybe goes up a little bit and then goes sideways, but overall it's a dip and a sideways motion. So here we do have a dip and it kind of goes sideways, but this first one may not be the most similar one, but the other ones are more or less similar, right? So you do have a dip and it goes up a little bit, a dip goes up a little bit, there's a dip and it goes up a little bit. So right now we have 9 different matches. They're supposed to be similar to the current pattern. And if you click each one of them, it will tell you where that is in the entire history of this coin. So here's Dogecoin, and that's the top peak in 2021. And this is 2022 March 3rd, March 6th. So it's basically telling you the timing when that particular line occurs, right? So if you click different ones, it will highlight the corresponding historical occurrence. And now let's say we have all these historical patterns identified. The next thing we do here is we average all these trends to the left of this line. So the line is the current point, and the left is supposed to be similar to our current history, right? So once we average them, it will give us this aggregated region. Basically, this green band centered around this solid red line is the average and the standard deviation region of all these 9 curves. And similarly, we also average their price movement after the matched point. So that's how we get a projection into the history, right? Remember, all these curves, they are already in the history, so we do know what happens after that point, after the matching. That's how we can utilize historical pattern to project the future. So when we average all these future, let's call it historical future movement, we end up having this little region here. So we do have a upward trend based on the slope of this red curve, and also fairly tight distribution here, indicated by this green band. So this band is not wide, right? It's kind of tight. So that means we have a fairly consistent direction. The direction is going up, and we also confirm the direction is consistent. This way, you may want to participate in the market. But most of the time, remember, you will be seeing some sideways motion. Let's just take a look at BTC and see what's going on here. So here, in this case, BTC USDT, you kind of have an upper trend, but this standard deviation or this band is really wide, right? Personally, I would like to see both upper band and lower band to go to the same direction. However, in this case, the upper band goes up, the lower band goes down. That's really just because, all these curves here, if you check this box, individual matches, you will be able to show all these individual matches from the right hand side on this chart here. And as you can see here, all these curves that go up and down. So is this really not consistent? So we don't have a good consistency score here. We probably don't want to do anything, just sit on the sideline, observe what's going on in the next few days. So really, that's just everything. We want to keep our product simple, but if you have already understand what's going on here and want to play around with it, there are a few things you can play around. So first, you can change the history lens and the future lens. If you do that, let's give it a shot. Let's say history match 8 and future lens 4. And then make sure you click this refresh to update the chart. So you see the plot changes, right? And what happens is now, instead of looking at the 5 points in the history for matching, it's going to use the most recent 8 points in the history. We use these for the pattern matching. And then on the right hand side, when we use the future lens of 4 instead of 1, the projection will show 4 days to the right instead of just 1, right? Remember, when we have 1, it's only projecting 1 day. So when you have 4 or 5, you have more days in the projection. However, do remember, when you have a longer projection lens or future lens, it tends to give you wider distribution, so it's less reliable. So I would recommend you not use a super crazy high projection future lens value here. I think 2, 3, 4, they're probably reasonable. Maybe I'll really just stay with 2 or 3 as a short-term projection, right? 1 or 2, they're both fine. It's really your preference. We set our default to be 5 and 1 because in our experience, that seems to be a fairly reliable combination, but definitely you can play around with it. I mean, nobody says 6 is wrong. I mean, maybe for some stock, 6 is better, no problem. So lastly, I want to show you this function here, the max number of matches. So by default, it's showing 10 matches. If you change any value here, let's say if you want to show 6 matches instead of 10, change the number from 10 to 6 and click this refresh button. Make sure you click that to really update the results. Otherwise, the system will do nothing. All right. So On one hand, if you have a lot of matches, you do have a larger sample, but the problem is you risk having some patterns that's less similar to the current pattern. Meanwhile, if you have a less number, you do have a small sample, but we will end up having those trends that showed higher similarity to the current pattern. So this is basically a trade-off, right? And by default, 8 or maybe 10 is a good number. We just experimented with these numbers of selections, and empirically we believe 8 or 10 is a good number. So you can definitely change that a little bit, based on your preference. So play around with all these parameters and see what you can find. If you run into any issues or find any bug, definitely please join our Discord channel and communicate with us. We will jump on it right away and fix the bug. We are always ready to listen to our customers, and we want to continuously improve our product. Alright, so that's all. Hope this tutorial is helpful. Please do not hesitate to let us know about any questions.